Αξιότιμε κύριε Πρόεδρε του Ελληνικού
Thank
Παρατήματος
you for the invitation and the opportunity to speak via video at this important event.
Αγαπητοί φίλοι.
My name is Alexios Donas, and I am a third-generation Greek immigrant in Germany and a founding member of the European Hellenism Foundation, based in Brussels. My grandparents came to Germany in the 1960s. They came legally without demands. They came to work and did so with honesty and dignity. My parents followed the same path. They paid taxes, raised children, respected the country that hosted them. They did not assimilate, they integrated. They preserved their language and identity but respected the laws and culture of the country they lived in. The children and grandchildren of those workers are now scientists, entrepreneurs, professionals, and are highly respected in their local communities. I would say that the Greek diaspora, wherever it may be in the world, supports the homeland. But today, I'm not here to speak about the positives of immigration, especially Greek immigration. I want to speak about the difficulties immigration faces and that we face here in Germany. One of those difficulties is the increasing criminality in certain immigrant groups. According to police and official crime statistics in Germany, the Polizeiliche Kriminalstatistik presented in 2024 based on last year's data, the number of non-German suspects was over 913,000. Syrians ranked first, followed by Turks, Romanians, Ukrainians, and then Afghans. Greeks did not appear at all as a group. That says something. This does not mean all immigrants are criminals. That would be unfair and wrong. But we cannot ignore the data. We must speak clearly and face the facts. For example, among men, non-German suspects were 2.5 times more than Germans. Among women, the gap is even greater. These numbers cannot be ignored. Why is this happening? There are many reasons: cultural differences, lack of education, lack of integration. I ask, is it perhaps also a failed asylum policy that didn't set clear rules? People were brought in without being properly evaluated, without ensuring they respected the values of this country. Germany is not just an economy, it is a state of law, and must remain so. The problem is not immigration itself, but uncontrolled and unregulated immigration. When there are no criteria, no filters, when you demand respect but do not enforce laws, then you don't have a society, you have ghettos. It is not racism to demand respect for the law. That is common sense. It is not xenophobia to want social peace. That is reasonable. The Greek diaspora proves that immigration can succeed, but it takes effort, boundaries, and truth. Europe has a clear problem: low birth rates, aging populations. It needs fresh blood, but it doesn't need just numbers. It needs people who can integrate, not people who bring conflict and violence. Even better would be a visionary demographic policy. Unfortunately, I haven't seen anything convincing yet. The solution is not to import people from societies that don't respect democracy, women, or freedom of speech. That's not an accusation, it's a fact. If someone grows up with values opposite to ours, as in many Islamic countries, they will struggle to adapt in Europe, and many won't even try. That's why ghettos are formed. Go to Paris, Brussels, or downtown Athens. I recently visited Greece again. I go regularly, and for those who know, the picture is not good. Migration must be based on principles and values. It must be targeted and organized. Whoever comes must integrate. If we don't do this, we'll see more and more problems in schools, in the streets, in neighborhoods. Europe must not lose itself in trying to solve its demographic crisis. It needs a moral compass. As president of the European Foundation, I'm not speaking just in that role, but also as a migrant, as a Greek expatriate, a third-generation immigrant. So I say this, Europe cannot afford more naivety. It must make serious decisions, now. We Greeks abroad know what integration means. We've lived both sides. We can help, but we will not be a cover for failed policies. Finally, I want to say something about the Greek diaspora. Our biggest problem is the Greek language. Understand that the Greek language is the connecting thread between the diaspora and the homeland, our customs, traditions, and identity. If the language is lost, Hellenism is lost. And I must tell you, we are facing a huge problem here in Europe. I know the data well. We are losing our children, losing Greeks. Let me remind you that Article 108 of the Greek Constitution clearly states, and I quote, "The state shall care for the life of Greeks abroad in the preservation of their ties with the motherland. It shall also care for their education and social and professional advancement." Very clear. Unfortunately, the Greek state gives only 0.47% of the Ministry of Education's budget to the Greek language abroad. Numbers don't lie. We live in a changing Europe. Security is becoming a priority again. Patriotic voices are rising and growing stronger. And whoever doesn't understand that the diaspora Hellenism is the only sure guarantor of Greece's continuity, either doesn't know history or serves other interests. Thank you very much. Be well.